So, I mean, it had to be.
Hey, Kristen, it's John Edward. How are you? Good. What's cooking? But there is a business side. I mean, for me, there has to be a business side to this as far as focusing on what I'm doing and how I do it. There's a big demand for people that want me to do it. Unfortunately, that's the hardest part of this. People are calling 24/7, trying to figure out how they can get an appointment and what they need to do. Unfortunately, a lot of people can't get through, which is very discouraging, which is the reason why I received so many phone calls. 64 today so far, and it's only like 11 o'clock, so. Yeah, I'll be out there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in L.A.
Good. Got to get the second.
Part of being a medium means that I'm working with a lot of energy, and it's energy that affects me, mentally, and it also can be very draining physically. And I feel like I'm being like microwaved. That is something that I have to find an outlet for. I also do ballroom dancing with my wife, and that's something that I find to be my physical release. I feel blessed. I feel blessed that I've been chosen, or that I'm part of this, and it's really powerful, very, very powerful. There are also days where I like bang my head up against the wall saying, why do I do this? But it is, for the most part, something that it's great. What you can't acknowledge, I always say write it down.
I'm sorry, write down what I can't.
What you don't remember, it's most important to write down.
I'm not the sort of person who would go out, seek out and consult a medium in the first place, but I've had an ongoing curiosity about it. And I did have a death in my family. My husband died 2 years ago, and I was doing it partly out of journalistic curiosity, and partly out of a sense of kind of anger that there's people out there who sort of prey on people's mourning and bereavement issues, because I know how hard it's been for me for 2 years and how vulnerable one is to any kind of comfort.
Right. The first thing that's coming through is I'm getting a male figure to your side. A male figure to your side to me would be husband, brother, cousin, or friend.
Mm-hmm. I'm Lynn Darling. I'm 46, and I'm a writer living in New York City.
Like, that's the energy that's coming through.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a husband or a sibling to you who's crossed over?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, if they're showing me 2, which would indicate that the second month, February, or the second of a month, or he's gone 2 years, but there's some type of 2 connection from what comes through. You aware of that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is his mother passed? Because he's telling me to talk about the mother being with him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He shows me 2. Is your mother also there?
Mm-mm.
Okay. He's got 2 mother figures that are with him from what he's showing me.
Okay. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Was he older than you?
Yes, he was. I was very struck by how much my mind was cooperating the minute he said that Lee was in the room. I went in there, a nice hard-boiled journalist, thinking, I'm here on behalf of all mourning people. I'm not going to let this guy convince me my husband's in the room. And yet, halfway through, I'm going, oh, yes, that's him. That was me. That was his grandfather. That would be what you're referring to. And I'm helping him.
Was there a joke about you singing?
No, I don't think so.
No, seriously. Is there some type of reference? Like, did you guys go to, like, a high singing mass or something?
I was kind of touched just by how it touches one, the hope that it gives you, and how much you want it to be true.
He's very specific with how he comes through. Like,
You've suspended disbelief. You suspend it in a movie. You suspend it when you're reading a book. You suspend it in a situation like that. And here the stakes are in some ways much higher, because you're not looking for artistic satisfaction out of something. You're looking for something that is your heart's desire, to talk to the person you can never, ever talk to again.
Now, had this gentleman been married? Because he's talking about a wedding.
The things he got right, he really got right, and they weren't cliched things. He knew, for instance, that there had been a wife before me and a family before me.
He'd been married prior?
That he was considerably older than I was, that he had died of lung cancer.
Now, who had lung cancer? Because they're showing me my mother. My mother passed from lung cancer. And they're talking about blackness of the chest.
My husband had lung cancer.
Okay.
That's what he died. He described 2 things that really hit home in a personal way. He talked about an object, which he described as a round object that was quite old, had an antique feel to it.
It's small. It's something that I can put in my hand from what he's making me feel.
Could be like a little pillbox.
Do you carry it?
All the time.
Okay. Would it have been his?
It was his.
Okay.
That's why I carry it.
All right.
And in fact, I have a little silver engraved pillbox that I keep my wedding ring in, and my daughter's tooth, for that matter. And I keep it with me all the time. And it belonged to his father.
there's some type of funny bra issue he wants me to bring up for you.
Bra issue? I have no idea what that would be.
Well, hold on. We're going to get into it. There's some type of connection. After he passed, he's telling me that you went into a, quote, a store, some type of situation, basically contemplating purchasing something that I would look at as being like an undergarment that would be not characteristic of what you normally would wear, or something that he reflected once and said, why don't you get this? And he's telling me to tease
It was very funny because it made him sort of blush. Oh, how funny. I had been in a lingerie shop, and I had, in fact, bought lots of new underwear.
He's telling me to talk about a younger male who's alive. It's younger than him, which has to be a son, son-in-law, nephew. He's acknowledging this. He's telling me you know this.
He's saying I know this?
He's making me feel like she knows this.
The more I thought about it, the more the misses started entering.
But he's telling me to talk about 9, which would indicate either the 9th month, September, or the 9th or 19th of a month holding some type of meaning.
There were dates that meant nothing, and references to anniversaries that meant nothing, and lots of relatives he mentioned that don't exist as far as I know. You know, he has an answer to this, which is that they will, that Lee was probably passing a message on to someone else, or if I look further, I'll find out that these things, in fact, exist. But the composite portrait I got was a very generalized one.
He's telling me to let you know that he's here and that he is okay.
And he comes back and says, I'm okay? I mean, what does that mean, okay? He's dead. How okay is that?
But he's just, that's his way of...
I didn't find any consolation in the idea that Lee might be there. In fact, it's sort of disconcerting, and if you think about it, it kind of opens up more problems than it solves. My husband's around, and he's not talking to me. Or at least he's only talking to me in the living room of this guy in Long Island. Now, does that mean I should be involved in some sort of post-mortem marital therapy? I mean, should I be dealing with the fact that he's not talking to me? Why isn't he talking to me? Was it something I said? Maybe he didn't like the lingerie. Maybe he's mad that I go out with other people. I don't think that's very consolatory, and I'm not sure I wanted him in the lingerie shop, for Christ's sake.
You illuminated his life in a very big way. I feel like you brought him...
My problem with the idea of a medium is that death is a very personal thing, and it's an incredibly, incredibly hard process, the process of accepting someone's death, believing it, having closure with it, and going on with your life, and still keeping that memory of the loved one evergreen in your mind. And to hear that he's sort of in the room watching me, you know, try on underwear doesn't do a whole lot for that process.
This is tough. My son Lico, he was playing with a dog's chain out in the yard and somehow got tangled up in it and wrapped it around his neck, and he passed over.
Grief is an emotional reaction that is in response to the death of a loved one. And it can be a very intense experience for some people. Unlike a psychiatric disorder, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So it resolves naturally and on its own.
His spirit is still alive, and I see it. I see it daily. I see it when I need to. I see it when I ask for it, you know, and it gets me through the grief, gets me through, you know, the feeling alone, because I don't feel alone.
As a psychiatrist, I would not use the term after-death communication because that implies a belief system which some people don't have. However, the experience of being contacted by a loved one is known to psychiatry, and it is part of the normal grief reaction for many people.
All of us are always surrounded by spirits, but we don't pay attention. Maybe after a death, we are more apt to pay attention unconsciously and let them in.
Part of normal grief is also sometimes a heightened perception where people think they hear the voice of a loved one, or they see a fleeting image or a glimpse of they think is their loved one. They may have dreams about the person who has just passed away. Those are all parts of the grief experience.
I was in Bangkok visiting a friend. I've been away about a month. And the phone rang about 4 o'clock one morning. And it was my brother calling from Los Angeles to say that my sister had been found dead in her bed, probably suicide.